The budget was always going to contain bits hard to swallow, but this early announcement has certainly caught in the throat.
Shame on Brooke Van Velden. Shame! Low-paid women are paying the price.
This makes the system fairer.
Brooke Van Velden has saved the taxpayer billions. It's got nothing to do with the budget.
Kia ora, ko Craig McCulloch aho, and te purongo tōranga pūmo tēnei wiki. Welcome to Focus on Politics. Few, if any, predicted the bombshell which dropped at a media conference on Tuesday morning, called with little notice at Parliament and fronted by the Minister of Workplace Relations, Brooke Van Velden. A shock shake-up of the pay equity regime.
I'm proud to be a woman, and I'm proud to support women at work. I'm proud to remove sex-based discrimination. I don't believe that the current settings get that right. This is about tidying up the labour law to make sure we are focusing on genuine sex-based discrimination and not muddying it with collective bargaining or other labour market forces.
The so-called tidy up makes it more difficult for workers or unions to lodge a pay equity claim and win it. Fewer people are now eligible to argue that they're underpaid because their workforce is dominated by women. And those that remain eligible now face a tougher time proving it. The new model will save the government billions of dollars. Billions which would have otherwise been paid out through increased wages to those workers.
This makes the system fairer and better and more workable for everybody wishing to take a claim.
The law change also extinguishes any claims currently underway, all 33, sending them back to the drawing board to start the process all over again. Claims that have already been settled remain mostly intact, but any review clauses within them are now void.
We're not stopping claims. We do believe in having an equal pay system and a system to alleviate genuine sex-based discrimination, but we don't have those systems right.
More details on the changes to those systems later. But first, the response.
When women's rights are under attack, stand up, fight back!
The announcement has unleashed fury and upset from those affected, hundreds of thousands of workers, mostly women.
Fight back! What do we want? Fair pay! When do we want it? Now!
A snap protest was organised by the Council of Trade Unions that Tuesday afternoon, with hundreds turning out on Parliament's forecourt, despite little warning.
Shame on Brooke Van Velden. Shame! They know that this is shameful. They know that this is appalling behaviour. I think this government has forgotten that women hold up half the sky. Yeah. The goalposts are being shifted. Brooke Van Velden has pulled the rug out from under their feet and has said, shame, go back and do it again. But this time, the goalposts are higher. We're so far along, and they're just going to strip it away today in like 15 minutes. Shameful. It's taken so long. When women's rights are under attack, stand up, fight back.
The unions see the move as a betrayal of the women's movement, a blindside, broadside on workers. Teachers, plunket nurses, midwives, care workers, librarians.
We were so close to getting to the end and getting this sorted, and then to be basically kicked in the guts and told you're going to be starting again.
I felt disappointed. I felt angry. Most of all, I felt sad. It's a betrayal.
My whole stomach just went down. It just dropped.
It was gushing. It just seems it's really huge waste of time and money.
Honestly, kind of feels like we're all Sisyphus, like about 3/4 of the way up the hill, just watching the rock roll right back down to the bottom, you know?
And perhaps no one felt that more keenly than Christine Bartlett, the woman who led the charge for pay equity last decade.
I'm sick. I'm in tears. It's really gut-wrenching. I just feel so sorry for these people, these women workers, employees. They don't know what sort of situation they're going to end up with now. And here's a woman, Brooke Van, whatever her name is, you know, what's she doing to women? It's so unfair what she's doing. And just to cut it like that and stopping all current claims, and all claimants will need to reapply under the new regime, you know, God, who the hell does she think she is?
The whole pay equity system can be traced back to Christine Bartlett. The Lower Hutt care worker spent years arguing through the courts that she'd been underpaid for some 2 decades due to systemic gender discrimination.
We're going to win this. If we don't, we're never going to give up.
Don't be too polite, girls, don't be too polite. Show a little fight, girls, show a little fight.
Christine Bartlett did win, The successful case ultimately brought about a $2 billion settlement in 2017 by the then national government to fund pay rises of 20 to 40% for about 55,000 aged care workers over 5 years.
It's been overwhelmingly exciting. It's been so exciting, just unbelievable. I'm on cloud nine. I'm just so happy for all the carers and care supporters that now can live, hopefully out of poverty, and just live a normal life.
As well, the government was working on a new framework for considering future claims from other sectors. That continued over that year's election and was picked up and expanded by the new Labour New Zealand First coalition. In July 2020, a law change was finally passed setting up that regime, with the support of National, then in opposition. The ACT Party neither spoke during the debate nor voted. Note some of the National Party voices hailing the bill's success at the time.
The bill is, as many have said, one whose time has come.
The dreams I have for my daughter and my grandchildren one day, when I have them hopefully, is that they will grow up in a country where the work that they do is equally valued.
Equal pay matters. This legislation provides a further step in the right direction, and I commend it to the House.
Yes, that is National's Nicola Willis speaking there at the end. Of course, now the Finance Minister. It was no accident that when fronting reporters on Tuesday, she came flanked by 4 other female ministers. A demonstration, she said, that women's voices had not been sidelined.
Look at these women here. We were all around the cabinet table and we've got very strong voices.
Nicola Willis acknowledged National had supported the overall law change back in 2020, but said she'd also warned at the time that problems could arise due to a late change made by Labour. And she says that's exactly what happened.
This is about principle. We, as a government, believe in the principle of pay equity, which is that where women are able to prove that they have faced gender-based discrimination in their pay rates, they should be able to make claims and they should be able to get settlements to improve their pay. So our government supports that. What this is about is ensuring that we are clear, transparent and fair to ensure that where those claims are made, they relate to gender-based discrimination and that other issues to do with pay and working conditions are raised during the normal employment relations process.
In simple terms, the government argues that the current system has moved beyond its intent, morphing into more general collective bargaining. Brooke Van Velden says claims have become too broad and the threshold for eligibility too low. Previously, claimants had to prove that at least 60% of roles in their industry were filled by women. That threshold has now been lifted to 70%, and it must have been that way for at least a decade. That means primary teachers would likely remain eligible, but not those in secondary. As well, the new approach introduces a merit test and a greater focus on whether employers can afford a higher wage bill.
We are putting a clear line in the sand to say this is what the government believes will help us make sure that there is an evidential basis for genuine sex-based discrimination.
The rules have also been tightened regarding which jobs can be compared with others when trying to determine a fair pay rate. The government believes the comparisons have become too lax, ignoring substantial differences in work environments and conditions.
We want to ensure that the settings are right. Is it reasonable that we have people who are librarians comparing themselves to engineers, or we have social workers comparing themselves to air transport controllers? You cannot go fishing for discrimination across the New Zealand workforce.
The unions say that's simply disingenuous. Ali Kingi is an Auckland teacher aide with the Educational Institute. She says she understands why such comparisons might seem odd to the public, but the minister, she says, should know better.
I understand, and when it first came to me, being very involved in the process, I was like, what? You're comparing us to who? That's got nothing to do with it. From the outside, it can look like that. If people have a true understanding of the pay equity process, is looking at the knowledge and skills that people have across the two different, between the female-dominated industry and the male-dominated industry. It doesn't mean someone's like a something. So for the Minister of Workplace Relations to say so, it means they either don't have a deep understanding or they're deliberately discombobulating the situation.
The changes also do away with any back pay and allow employers to phase in any new agreements over a maximum of 3 years. Business NZ has called the new law an improvement, as has the Employers and Manufacturers Association. Here's Alan McDonald.
Well, I have a lot of sympathies for those that have been caught out, or caught up rather than caught out. As I said, there's 33 at the moment. But the same thing happened in 2020 when we were working under one set of rules as employers, and that got changed as well. So, that's always a function of changes in legislation, whether they happen quickly or slowly. There's always somebody that gets caught out in these things.
Ultimately, the government says the current system is not working as intended. The changes, it says, will make it less complex and more workable. That's the government's argument as to its motivation. Or rather, that's one of its arguments. Listen closely to the ACT Party, and another motivation becomes clear. That of money.
Every minister in this government has been asked to find savings and be part of playing our part. And I think it's fairly clear that the policy changes that I'm delivering today will go some way, and quite a substantial way, to find very real and significant cost reductions to government.
Pay equity claims have to date largely been concentrated on the public sector, with costs climbing so far to almost $1.8 billion a year. The government won't say exactly how much it expects to save as a result of these changes, calling it budget sensitive. But be under no illusions, it will be in the billions.
It could be up to billions of dollars.
Billions, and I will make clear at the budget that number.
A sizable sum, but the Prime Minister Christopher Luxon says that is not, repeat, not the reason behind the government's move.
It's got nothing to do with the budget. This is about making sure we have a piece of legislation that is incredibly workable and not as complex as it has been.
Nothing to do with the budget. He might want to raise that with his coalition partner, as just minutes earlier, the ACT leader David Seymour had been much more willing to draw a direct line to those savings being made.
I actually think that Brooke Van Velden has saved the taxpayer billions. She's saved the budget for the government.
That's not been our motivation. Our motivation has been to make sure we make this piece of legislation work so that it's workable for everybody, to make sure that it gets it back to its core purpose, which is dealing with sex-based discrimination.
Just a coincidence then that it magics up billions of dollars right at a time that the budget is stretched so tight. The savings go some way to explain how Nicola Willis will keep her new spending this year as low as she has promised. Previously something of a head-scratcher.
That money will go directly into supporting women who are teachers, women who are nurses, to make sure that our health system can pay them well. It will go into supporting frontline services. Yes, so in our budget,
it to go into their pay.
I won't be ring-fencing it. In our budget, you will see a range of initiatives that will support public service delivery, ensuring more funding for our schools and our hospitals, for a range of areas.
The looming budget might also explain some of the rush. The bill was revealed at 11 o'clock Tuesday morning. By 6 o'clock, it had already passed its first and second readings under urgency. The third and final reading finished up with a final vote on Wednesday evening. A usually months-long process jammed through in just 2 days. No select committee hearings, no public feedback, none of the usual checks and balances which come with usual lawmaking.
We are moving with urgency, and the reason we're doing that is to make sure that we've got one system, not two systems, and that we've got maximum amounts of clarity.
We didn't wish people to game the system. I think it's quite possible that if we had done a long extended consultation period through select committee, through the second reading, through committee of the whole, through third reading, it's possible people may have wished to try and bring claims under the old threshold, knowing that it was about to change. And so we wanted to ensure that we had a clear delineation and line in the sand, that these will only be going through under the new thresholds.
There's extensive select committee inquiries into pay equity when it was passed back in 2016, 2017. We're really just returning it to that.
A cynic might note another reason for the haste, that being the reduced time the decision spends in the spotlight, in the wider public conversation. National, in particular, is keenly aware of the political risk at play. Both the party and the Prime Minister already struggle with female voters in the polls. They desperately want to avoid a narrative that the coalition is fleecing the poorest paid women to help shore up its budget. Cue the opposition.
There is no justification for paying women less for doing work of the same value. And no government should support a law change that would allow that discrimination to continue.
Today is an absolutely shameful day in this country that this government is not recognising our women. Low-paid women are paying the price for not being able to manage a budget.
For the Labour Party, this is an opportunity, a chance to fight for their base and build it. National will be hoping the conversation's moved on by next year's election. But there's nothing like a crisis to mobilise a movement. The week ended with union protests up and down the country, stationed directly outside ministers' offices. Christine Bartlett, who fought so hard for pay equity and for so long, says she's ready for round 2.
There's going to be a lot more fighting now. Yep, I'll be out there too. I want to get out there. I wanted to go to Parliament when I got told it was only very quick, and I'm too far away. I couldn't have got there in time anyway, but I'll be around with these rallies. Don't worry about that.
On the contrary, the coalition should perhaps start worrying now. That was Focused on Politics. I'm Craig McCulloch. Thanks for joining me. Mā te wā.